Drum performances. Let's talk about them. How's it going? My name is Trev Barnes with Studio Z. We turn everyday musicians into remarkable craftspeople. And I am so passionate about drums. Drums are probably my favorite instrument to play and to produce. And a lot of the students that I have worked with are kind of scared of drum production. And I want to make it a little less scary in this video and kind of walk you through how to get a very full and present drum sound and how much of a difference it really makes within your productions. So let's go ahead and hop over in our DAW. So I have three synth parts right here. I have a bass, I have a pad, and then I have a lead. And this is kind of the element of a strong song, a good rhythm, a good chord progression, and then a melody that stands out. And this is all done with Logic's retro synth, nothing too crazy, just wanted really good full sounds. So this is what the synths sound like just completely on their own. That is a really full sound with just three synths. Now, of course, I'm using a little bit of reverb, a little bit of delay, but there's not really much processing. It's mainly I chose sounds that I thought were good. Now, this is where the common mistake in drum production that I see occurs. So we have this very full synth part, and then we add in a drum part. Take note, these synths sound expensive, meaning that this production sounds very full, like it costs a lot of money to make this production. Listen to the value of the production as I unmute the drums here. So it went from being big and expensive to feeling like now it was done in GarageBand. I'm not crapping on GarageBand, that's what I started on, and there's a lot of good quality that you can get from GarageBand. But why does it feel cheap? Why does it feel kind of devalued from what the synths make us feel? I believe that it starts with the sound selection. This SoCal kit, this is such a known kit. It's like the default sound in GarageBand. It's the default drummer on Logic. There's not much thought past this sound. It sounds very stock. And I hate saying that because there's a lot of value from stock plugins. But this is just not appropriate to the context of the rest of everything else that is going on. So let's start by finding a different sound for it. And something that I'm going to do is open up the multi-channel kits, because this will not only give me just a lot more options to choose from, but it'll give me what is called multi-output routing. So now I'll have more control over the individual pieces, like the kick drum, the snare, and I'll be able to process those with external plugins like compression, EQ, I could put reverb on it. So it gives us more autonomy over what we're trying to do. So I'm just gonna go through a couple of these and we're gonna see together what sounds a little more appropriately contexted. And while I'm flipping through these, I want to think as well, what is the sound that I'm going for? I kind of want a mix of a modern and also a very classic 80s sound. Think like the band Camino or the Midnight, a classic take, but with a modern spin. The Scientific Method one isn't bad. So now that we have a better sound selection, let's go ahead and take a look at the MIDI that we wrote in as well. Now, if I click on any of these, you'll see that all of the velocity values are 100. This is a common pitfall to where your program drums just aren't sounding real. If you think about how a human being plays an instrument, especially drums, no two velocities are ever going to be the same. That's why I recommend everybody get a MIDI keyboard. Sure, writing in your part works, but getting to have a hands-on approach, even if you don't know how to play drums, I think just still going one part at a time is much more soulful and it feels so different than just writing in the part. So let's go ahead and recreate this part. I'm gonna put this just to the side real quick because I wanna recreate this part and show you the difference in human feel with different velocities when you're actually playing it. So this first one is the one that I just played. A lot of the kick and snare velocities are the same. This keyboard I'm still getting used to. It's very, very sensitive. But look at the color that we have within the performance that I just did on the keyboard versus the color that we have over here on the written out one. is bland. There's no color on it. It's almost an artistic expression itself to show when you just kind of write something in and let the computer do the work, it's bland and lifeless. But human beings, we are here to add the color. We are here to add the imperfection. So let's go ahead and get rid of this old performance. We won't be needing that anymore because we have something that has more life to it. Actually, I changed my mind. Let me play them both back to back so you can hear the difference. So the first one is going to be the program drums and the second one is going to be the played drums. Again, really listen. The second one, sure, I'm hitting notes harder, but there is life to it. So now that we have better sounds at our disposal, let's kind of audit what we're playing. So this pattern, it's very straightforward. It's kind of boring. We can go for something simple. A lot of times, simple is what works for a song. Simple is what makes a song great. AC/DC has been around for 100 years. They're still doing the same beats. But let's say that we wanted to do a little more. I'm going to be a little more expressive now with the playing. So maybe I'll put in like a fill or like an open hi-hat and just kind of think of it in a different way while keeping the kick on the 1 and the 3. Now we have a little more movement. We have something interesting about the drums now. This beat feels like it fits more with this melody. Let's just listen to the melody and the beat together now. It's about filling space. And I think the interesting thing, I just made this beat with intuition. It comes from a place of familiarity. The more you do this, the more you'll understand what you should do for this part. But look at where the fill is and look at what's happening in the melody. I'm not trying to cramp everything and play over this melody. I don't want to distract from the melody. But when the melody is not doing anything, see this open space right here, that's when I am opening up the hi-hat. Or over here, I am adding another kick. That's how you get your music and your production to start speaking the same language and having a conversation versus just one person talking over the entire conversation. So let's go ahead and open up the individual drums. Because like I said, I want multi-output to give me more autonomy. So as you can see, now I have all of these drum mics. Let's say I wanted more of a room sound. Now I can go ahead and crank that up and we hear how that has an effect on the drums. Probably is too much room, so let's go ahead and dial it back a little. That snare might feel a little too ringy to me. So let's go ahead and hear and see if we can find a better snare sound. Yeah, that's what I want. Something a little more dead. I really like getting dead snares and then adding some kind of vintage, kind of freaky reverb on it, like just a crappy sounding spring reverb. So this is where we can start to get a little experimental. You don't want to spend too much time on this because this should really be done while you're producing the song and not structuring or writing the song. But get weird, just start experimenting with things. Here we have a stock plugin called the Springbox, and let's just saw out the snare, see what it does with the mix of the drums, and then see what that does with the mix of the song. That feels pretty interesting to me. I think overall the drums sound really cool, but I want to squeeze them a little bit with some compression just to really glue the kick and the snare together. If you are intimidated by compression and you don't really know what it does, go ahead and subscribe because next week I'm going to be explaining compression in the easiest way possible, and I don't want you guys to miss that video. And if you like the way that we are teaching, please give it a thumbs up as well. We'd appreciate it. So yeah, just added some light compression just to give it kind of a little more of a squeeze. I really don't need to overdo it with this. So this is before the compression. And then after. It just gives a little more attitude to the drums. So now this is what the drums sound like in context with the rest of the synths that we have. Now that sounds good, but it still doesn't feel like it lives up to the space and everything that the synths are giving us. So that's when I would recommend to have filler and background percussion. We call this auxiliary percussion. And I can do that by just bringing in a tambourine. And we're just going to sort of fill the space, add a little more rhythm. Now I'm just going to make a couple quick adjustments. This is something that I love doing with Logic's tambourines. I find that the default just doesn't sound realistic enough. It sounds a little too clean. So something I usually do, I'll lower the pitch by 1, bring the tone back just a little bit, and I add some dirt. And we're going to be panning this off to the right. Here's my kind of little philosophy. The tambourine is a subjectively bright sounding instrument, and so are hi-hats. I kind of like having the two opposite of each other in a stereo context. That way I have something bright that is representing on the left side, which is my hi-hat, and I have something bright on the right side, which is the tambourine. Again, these are not rules. This is just things that I've learned that liven up a drum production. So let's go ahead and bring it to the left and just balance it in there. Right there sounds good. I don't really want it to shine too much. I want it to kind of sit and have an equal relationship with the drum set. Everything should be falling in line to the drum set because that's kind of like the most important picture of the drums, obviously. All right, so that feels better to me, but I also want to add a shaker just to add a little more of that movement. And the shaker, I'm going to kind of align it a little more in the middle. Again, we have several things that are doing eighth notes right now. The hi-hat is doing eighth notes. The tambourines are doing eighth notes. I don't have to do eighth notes with the shaker. I just personally like the way that they feel in context with the rest of the mix. It's like we have a very uniform eighth note that is keeping the song going. So don't feel like you have to just do whatever everything else is doing, but that is what I'm gonna do right now. All right, so let's go ahead and level those in there. So to me, that sounds great. You could stop there, but I personally like weird productions and I like weird and random things going on. I like kind of exploring the bounds of where we can go with sound. So I'm going to start adding some additional layers on here. I think having like a really deep electronic kick drum to pair with this drum set, that would be a pretty good start. And then I want to do the same thing with a snare drum as well. So right now I'm looking for the Kick 2 2-ton pop. This is like my go-to. I guess I could have typed it in there, but this is my like go-to deep kick sound. It's very muted, but it's got a lot of sub to it. And this is something else to kind of help you find your way with getting bigger and better drum productions. Memorize your sounds. I only know what I know because of a level of familiarity. That is how you get over any fear of producing, of writing a song, of releasing your music. It's all a matter of a lack of familiarity. So let's go ahead and add this kick. I missed the last hit, but that is okay, because we can just move it over. But already you can hear a huge production value difference in what just this little kick drum added. Without, it just adds so much character. All right, now let's do the same thing with a snare. I think I want like the tuned down Lindrum snare. And if I'm using the Lindrum, I might as well go all out with the reverb on it. And again, we're just gonna kind of blend it in there. All right, now let's just blend it in there. So on its own, that's a cheesy sound. Come on, let's be real. That sounds straight out of 1988. But when it's blended in there tastefully with the rest of everything, it just provides a little body and character. Now listen to it without it. With it? There's a lot of added character there. So I'm gonna do something that I love doing. I'm gonna add these offbeat claps. Well, they're not really offbeat. They're gonna kind of feel random at first. And this just makes something that is very interesting as the production goes on. So I'm gonna get like just a big reverbed clap here. And what I'm gonna do, I'm not gonna fall in line with what the snare is doing. I'm only gonna come in every other snare hit. What I'm doing is I'm making my drum productions more, I don't wanna say random, because they're not random. More dynamic, I guess. That's the right word. See, now we're getting somewhere interesting. We can do the same thing with like these little blips too. Just these little toms. Let's just track it and then I'll show you what I'm gonna do to them. Just interesting, like it's kind of there. There's not much going on there. But what I'm actually gonna do is I'm gonna duplicate that, copy over the track, and one side is going to do the low notes and the other side is gonna do the high notes. And I'm gonna pan them pretty far apart. And now we're gonna get a sense of motion with the drum performance. So I think that is a good place to kind of stop adding things. There's definitely a lot going on here, and not all productions need all of this. It's more so just about being more purposeful about the decisions that you make within the way that you're playing and the way that you're producing something. A drum beat does not just have to be a simple drum beat. As long as it feels percussive and it feels dynamic and that it's moving, that's what's important. So let's go ahead and listen now. I dug the old drum beat up from its grave, and let's listen to the total difference about this first drum performance that I know a lot of you guys can relate to, only because I hear it so much within our mentoring and what we turned it into just by making a couple new creative choices. I mean, we didn't even like mix anything crazy. All the plugins that I'm using here are stock to Logic. So let's go ahead and hear the difference. So what did we learn? Sound selection, get it right at the source as much as possible with the sounds that you have right in front of you. We learned about velocity. Are these parts dynamically different and do they feel human with human velocity added? And we learned about layering with complementary elements. Again, the key word there is complementary. All of these things are within relative context to each other. So I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a like, a share, and a subscribe. If you want to transform the way that you create in 90 days, we just launched a brand new program where you'll be working with me on a one-on-one mentorship, and we are going to completely develop the way that you create. Link for that is in the description. Thank you so much for spending this video with me, and we will see you in another video.